Hello. Welcome back to One Little Coder, and this week in AI news update, starting with Meta AI once again. Meta AI has launched or relicensed the new model called Dino V2. So Dino V2 is a model that can help you do a bunch of things. That is, for example, it can help you do image level visual tasks like image classification, instance retrieval, video understanding, and also it can help you do pixel level visual tasks like depth estimation, semantic segmentation. And we have seen some examples like a horse trying to run and then trying to do the image segmentation or the video segmentation. You can do depth estimation, as you can see here, just from a 2D picture you can do depth estimation, and there are a lot of things that you can actually do with this thing. And this license has been converted into an Apache 2.0 license, which means it's a permissible license and you can use it even for commercial purposes. Along with that, the second one is Meta AI has also launched something called FACET. What is this FACET? It's an acronym for Fairness in Computer Vision Evaluation. So they've released a new comprehensive benchmark for evaluating the fairness of computer vision models across the tasks like classification, detection, instance segmentation, and visual grounding tasks. So you can see here, this picture is there and it says what is a class, what is a perceived gender presentation, the perceived skin tone, and it does like what is their hairstyle and a bunch of other things. So you can see that this is going to be a little useful, especially as we have seen like more and more computer vision models coming into social systems. I think having a benchmark like this, especially that can evaluate fairness, is quite helpful. So if you want to learn more about Yarn, you can go to this GitHub and then learn about it. The paper is linked here. It's a technique to efficiently extend context window without making any performance impact. And if you see the paper, you would actually notice that even though that the context window is increased, the perplexity has not been affected a lot. So perplexity is a metric that has been used to measure if the model would result in a gibberish text or like something that is meaningful. And we have also seen some examples of people trying to use the model. And I saw a tweet, which I'll link it in the description, where the person has tried and then also found out that it took them more than 2 hours to generate 64,000 tokens, but it actually generated 64,000 tokens, which is quite an amazing thing. So we have got a Llama 2 model with 128,000 tokens. If you want to learn more about these things, all these things are based on a concept called a positional embeddings. So if you want to learn more about positional embedding, I actually found this YouTube video really useful. It's a very small new channel, but I found the content really good. There is good animation and there is good explanation. So I would link this YouTube video in the YouTube description. Please show them some love and also learn about positional embedding or rope. So the next one in the list is Llama CPP getting a new update thanks to a new update called Speculative Sampling. With Speculative Sampling, Llama 2, Code Llama, or to be specific, running on M2 Ultra, is generating about 20 tokens per second. It's a full FP16 precision 34 billion parameter model, and it does a pretty good job, as you can see from this demo. And there are multiple demos. If you want to learn more about this, you can go to this GitHub issue and then or the PR and go learn about it. But the point here is that this speculative sampling technique can actually speed up the inference of your Llama CPP models, and I wish to see more of this. But right now, Llama CPP once again looks quite and very interestingly promising. It's not every day that you would hear about Apple's open source efforts, but here we are. We have a new library or a new technique called FastVIT. This is a vision transformers, but a fast hybrid vision transformers using something called structural reparameterization. I have still no clue what does it mean, but the point here is that this is a very efficient vision transformer that can help you do image classification, image segmentation, and other kind of computer vision stuff. And you can see how fast it is. The red line is this one and every other model that you can see. The good thing is this model, the benchmarks are benchmarked on iPhone 12 Pro. So this is a model that can efficiently run on a smartphone, and this is quite exciting. And as a matter of fact, because this is coming from Apple, they've also released the Core ML model checkpoint and also the PyTorch checkpoint. So if you want to use it with PyTorch, you can download this. If you want to use it with Core ML model, you can use this. I was definitely interested in trying out this model, but somehow throughout the week I missed trying this out. But this is a model that you should check out. if you like computer vision, if you like vision transformers, and if you want something to be super amazingly fast, it is FastVIT from Apple. Next one is another open source model from the Chinese tech giant from Alibaba. So Alibaba has launched a new multi-modal model. We have seen the multi-modal model Edifix last week, and we have another multi-modal model that in this case is a Qwen-VL. So Qwen-VL and Qwen-VL-Chat are two new models that are open sourced by Alibaba. And I saw a couple of samples where this model is doing really good. Like in fact, it has been doing better than Edifix in couple of aspects like I managed to see. And I'm definitely planning to release a separate standalone tutorial for this. But if anybody wants to try out, I'll link this tutorial here. It's quite straightforward for you to go ahead and then try this model. It can do visual question and answering. You can upload an image and then ask it question. I think that is the biggest advantage having a multimodal model, and it can have a really good understanding of the text as well from the image. Like if you were to use OCR, then you can use this model for a drop-in replacement of OCR. It does mathematical reasoning. You can upload a picture and ask it questions. Like for example, how much would I have to pay if I want to order 2 salmon burger just from this image? So from this, it can do that kind of task as well. So overall, this is another interesting development in the multimodal space. We have been having a lot of good innovation in the text space, in the language model space, and having a multimodal large language model that does a really good job of visual reasoning is another great advantage to have in open source. And also great to see a model coming out of China and open source, because we know that they have been doing a lot of AI development. So this is greatly appreciated. As there is a global GPU shortage, Tesla is actually flaunting their 300 million AI cluster, $300 million AI cluster. This is a cluster that features almost 10,000 NVIDIA H100s. So this is something that Tesla is going to use for a lot of their AI development, especially with FSD, full self-driving. That is something that they're pushing. And also, as you know, that they have got XAI at this point, and they have got this humanoid robot development. So this is going to help Tesla in a lot of different cases. But again, once again, this is the GPU rich that they are flaunting to say that, you know, they've got huge AI development, probably to attract AI talent as well. Elon Musk has also announced a full self-driving capability of Tesla, doing a live video on X, the Twitter platform that he currently owns. And people have been fascinated to see the full self-driving capability, not by a YouTuber, not by some Tesla enthusiast, but directly by the Tesla CEO. And it seems like the GPUs that they have got are going to massively help in multiple different ways. I'll link the link of this tweet in the description, so you can actually check out the video. It's a 45 minutes video, but the fact that, you know, you have got full self-driving capability, quite good. I think this is a dream come true for a lot of people. Speaking of GPUs and self-driving cars, there is a new article published by SemiAnalysis which actually titled "Google Gemini Eats the World. Gemini smashes GPT-4 by 5x and the GPU powers." There are a lot of things in this article. One, they're trying to claim that Google Gemini is actually huge and it might smash every other tech that is available, the AI, by 5x. Probably like GPT-4 is the best at this point. And also the other point is the GPU rich and the GPU poor that they brought out. I wanted to make a dedicated video about GPU poor, how this argument doesn't hold up well. But the point here is that if you do not have a lot of H100s, you are GPU poor and it is not good. The other thing that they actually pointed out here in this article is that Hugging Face is doing harm to the open source by having an LLM benchmark, which is something that everybody is trying to beat. I'm not 100% sure how much I agree with the argument that that is bad. Like the benchmark or the board is good, but I think the problem is the way people are using it. They're trying to beat the benchmark rather than building the better model. But I'm not sure if the blame is on Hugging Face. Either way, this is a paid article. I mean, you have to pay for it. But there is a lot of piece in here which you can actually go read it. And I found it really insightful. I mean, there are certain arguments that I didn't like it, but definitely something worth reading, especially if you like what is happening in this space. A highly opinionated piece, I would say. And also after this piece was published, I heard that Sam Altman and a lot of people at OpenAI are actually furious about this article, saying that this is purely speculative and it's not true, and even that there are rumors that, you know, that it's probably been leaked or funded by Google in some sense. Either way, this is an article worth reading, whether you agree with it or not. If you have to make a lot of money, go enterprise is the fundamentals of SaaS business, and that is exactly what OpenAI is doing with ChatGPT Enterprise. This is a new offering, especially focused on security, compliance, and other stuff that a lot of people who pay a lot of money care about. So OpenAI has introduced ChatGPT Enterprise that is available. The biggest thing for me from this was two things. One, it was like unlimited access to GPT-4, and the second one is they came up with a terrible name for code interpreter that is called advanced data analysis. Imagine telling your co-workers, oh, I'm going to do data analysis using advanced data analysis. I don't know how does that sound, but it is a terrible name, to be honest. But if your company is going to use it, I think it is going to get a lot of benefits. Probably like a lot of company would probably want to use it either to put their logo on ChatGPT or OpenAI's PR documents, or at least they might find that this is useful. Another interesting thing that came from this announcement is that OpenAI is going to let all these companies extend ChatGPT's knowledge with their own data. This is probably going to kill a lot of startups that are only doing this particular piece, which is to extend your chatbot's knowledge with your own company, like using RAG and other techniques. So let's wait and watch what ChatGPT is going to do in this space. Next announcement from OpenAI is called Teaching with AI. So they're releasing a guide for teachers to use ChatGPT in their classrooms with suggested prompts, explanation of how ChatGPT works, what kind of limitation it has, and also the efficacy of AI detectors. I'm quite surprised to actually come up, see this thing. I remember very well that when OpenAI put out the AI detector or classifier, they particularly focused on education and academia, but because also there is a notion that a lot of students use ChatGPT and then submit their assignments, and it has been always a case of whether it is good, whether it is bad, and it seems like OpenAI is very carefully and clearly crafting a brand around how this can help education, and that might quash all the arguments against, okay, ChatGPT is not good for education, it doesn't help students. So it seems like a PR thing, but also it seems like genuinely they care about teachers using it to enhance the education or the teaching capabilities. Anyways, it offers also nice insights about how OpenAI suggests you to use prompts. So if you are like a power user of ChatGPT, I would definitely strongly encourage you to go ahead with this. I might also make a dedicated video about using this prompts and then seeing what kind of result it gives. But I found it fascinating to see the prompts that they're using and how teachers can use it and then create like an AI tutor, and how they can use AI to assist them in teaching the kids. This is brilliant, to be honest. I always like when AI goes mainstream, whether it is Apple's keyboard enhancement or Google's transcription service. Here we have got a new AI mainstream application, which is Call of Duty, like a very popular game, is going to use AI to moderate voice chats. So when you have voice chats, like if, for example, if your company uses customer support, a lot of customer support is actually voice, and there are not a lot of good technologies that can take these voice and then try to get some insight out of it. But it seems like Call of Duty is going to use AI to moderate voice chats. I think this is a very brilliant application of AI. I'm not saying that whether moderation is good or bad and all these things are different philosophical discussion, but they're actually launching a technology called ToxMod, which will identify or figure out things like hate speech, discrimination, harassment in real time, which is a good thing. A lot of parents are usually scared to put their kids online, and you cannot deny that internet is always safe, right? Internet is not safe sometimes, and this seems like a good approach to use data that is not only text but like voice and video, and try to moderate that using AI. And Whisper is like, we have covered Whisper extensively on this channel, and the recent Meta AI, Seamless 40, all of these open source models do a better job in transcribing the voice files. And I think this is another good example of how AI doesn't have to be like the core of your product, but can actually augment your product and make it better. So kudos to Call of Duty to come up with this use case. I have one more news from China. So China has let Baidu and other companies to launch ChatGPT like bots to public, and this is like to be seen as a sign to the world that China is pushing positively at AI without like a lot of regulations. I mean, you never know about regulations, right? You just read the PR and then you believe what is happening is what is happening. But anyways, the point here is that 3 AI startups, Baichuan Technology, Intelligent Technology, Zifu AI, and Minimax, have also announced similar products launches like how like these big giants have. But anyways, this is the Chinese government and Chinese media trying to indicate the world that they are going to be pro AI, and it seems once again that they are not going to fall behind in any technology that is happening in the West or that is happening in the rest of the world. Speaking of China again, we have a new model and a new paper called LLaSM. LLaSM stands for Large Language and Speech Model. The idea here is that can you have a multi-modal system where you've got both language and speech model, and that's what LLaSM does it. And they have figured out that this works pretty well when you have got this kind of multi-modality. So the typically like the multimodal models that we have seen are like Flamingo models where you've got like text and images, but this is like the other side of the stuff, like you've got like audio and the text going into LLaSM, and then you can build stuff with that. I've definitely not tried it out, and as usual they've said talk is cheap, show you the demo. So they've got this demos. They've also open sourced these models which you can go download from Hugging Face Modeler. Right now it looks more around like actually like a Chinese model, but I think if you play with that you might get to know some interesting details. But I'm also quite fascinated that this model is available with Apache v 2.0 license, which means you can take this, do anything you want, slap let's say a commercial application on top of it, and you can publish it. So interesting multimodal approach from China. Moving slightly to the east of China, we have got the Middle East, and the Middle East wants us to believe that they are not going to back down in the AI open source research. So meet JAIS. This is the world's most advanced Arabic language model. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correct, but I'm pronouncing it JAIS. So this is coming from G42's Inception, a company, and this has been partnered. It's in partnership with Mohammed bin Zayed University of Artificial Intelligence, from where we have already seen like wonderful work coming out. So this is a model that is trained on 116 billion Arabic tokens and 217 billion English tokens of data. Why this is interesting? I don't know if you know, but Arabic is a language that is not anywhere closer to English, and it is written in the opposite direction of how you read English. So here you can see JAIS is JAIS here, but if you read here, you see Jim Ya Sin. So it is read in an opposite direction of English. So it's a very interesting application, interesting way AI has been used here, and I would definitely love to see at some point to try out this model. My Arabic knowledge is pretty bad, but I can identify alphabets and I can like basically read certain words. So I would love to try it out and then see how this goes. But it's good to see these countries putting efforts in developing language models for their own language without having to always rely on the West or only the Silicon Valley. I mean, for me honestly, like at least like as somebody who's living in India, whose first language is not English, and there are a lot of nuanced languages in India which even like you cannot call it India. You have like different languages in different places, and I always appreciate when people focus on their language as well, because all you see with English and all these models are really good, appreciated, but that is not the entire world. The entire world is huge, and good to see these kind of efforts coming out. The model is available for you to use from Hugging Face Modeler. So if you're an Arabic language speaker, try out this model and let me know. I'm also planning to make a dedicated video on JAIS. Recently had a Google Cloud Next 2023 event, and they announced a lot of generative AI services. There are a few key things. One is their partnership with NVIDIA on supercomputing, and you've got like a Kubernetes version of it, and they have increased capacity in Vertex AI, which is like their main AI suite. And also one other thing that I found very interesting is that they are also making models like Anthropic's Claude and other models available in their own space, which is something that I did not expect, to be honest. But Google Cloud has added Meta's Llama 2 and Anthropic's Claude to their Vertex AI's model library. This is a very similar approach that Microsoft Azure did. Instead of just sticking to their own stuff, they kind of started pulling the industry together, and Microsoft Azure is quite huge, to be honest, these days. And Google Cloud seems to be going in this direction. I think a lot of people would probably like this kind of approach. But these are not the only announcements that came from the Google Cloud event, but these are like quite important ones, especially the fact that you can already access Palm, you can access Claude, you can access Llama, makes GCP quite an interesting ecosystem to play with. The next one is also from Google. It's called Google Duet. Duet AI is coming to Google Workspace applications, but you need to pay extra. Like even if you're the pro user, you need to pay extra for it. And this is going to be $30 per month. and it is very similar like the Microsoft AI capability. It almost seems like everybody is moving around the same direction. Enable AI in your own ecosystem, especially with productivity applications, and give this feature for users to chat with it and ask questions. I think it's a no-brainer for people to start using it if they are heavily invested in that particular ecosystem especially. And you can see like how Google Duet can actually help you. It is available in Google Meet and Google Chat. Just like Meta, Google is not slowing down, and Google's DeepMind, the Google Brain or DeepMind, has released a new announcement saying that they are creating something called SynthID. This is to identify AI generated images, or what they call as synthetic images. It is going to be available with Google Cloud and Vertex AI just for a handful of customers who are using ImageGen. So the idea here is that can you watermark AI generated image and can you identify them? We have already seen that AI detectors do not work well with text, but text is also quite easy to change, like augment. Even images you can augment. For example, you can change the colors, you can add filters, you can increase the brightness. But what DeepMind has said that the watermark is detectable even after modifications like adding filters, changing colors, and other kind of transformations that you can do with images. So it's an interesting thing. They've not gone into a lot of detail about how they are doing it, but it'll be interesting to know how they are doing it and what kind of technology that they are using, and if they're ever planning to open source this, because that might actually make it an industry wide approach. It's the same thing like what is happening in the electric car. If your car is compatible with one particular electric charging station, it is no brainer for every other OEM to have that kind of charger, because it makes it versatile and ubiquitous. And the same way, I think I think probably if somebody is going to generate an AI generated image system, open source it so that people can test it out and then say whether it works or not. And also everybody will start using it, so it becomes like an industry standard. If their objective is to say, oh, we want to stop false information, we want to enable creators and identify risk, if this is what your objective is, you should probably open source it. But there is no code or no other details, but at least like there is some work happening around this space, which was a big concern for a lot of people, especially whenever you talk about image generation, people only think about deep fakes, which is not so cool anymore. But yeah, SynthID is available. You can go here and read more about it. It is funding time. Generative AI startup AI21 Labs landed $155 million funding at a valuation of $1.4 billion. It almost seems like every AI company, especially the companies that are developing foundation models or any sort of model, are going to be like a unicorn. So Tel Aviv based startup AI21 Labs that has got a lot of text generating tools have reportedly got valued at a $1.4 billion valuation. Have raised around $283 million totally, like including the latest round. And you can go see what they're doing, and you can also play with their playground and understand what kind of models they have got. I'm not entirely sure. I think they already have a tie-up with AWS for on-prem deployment and to use it with other solutions like SageMaker and Bedrock. But I'm not sure, like having a lot of companies, like for example, OpenAI is already in this space. Like you see AI21 is in this space. You have got Hugging Face inference endpoints in the space. Other than that, you have got all these cloud makers like GCP, Microsoft, AWS. All of them are in the space. Cohere is in the space. So I see like this space is getting crowded, but I'm also trying to understand how every one of these startups are going to make sure that they have their own customers, they have their own brand and voice, and how these companies are valued at this valuation. Is it because of the foundation model? Is it because of existing customers? I'm quite intrigued by these details. Final news of this video, also one something that I really personally loved a lot, like of all the news that I covered today, is A16z's Andreessen Horowitz Open Source AI grant. So they're providing grant, or they have provided grant to a couple of well-known names. You can see Aeroboros, you can see the uncensored LLMs, Eric Hadward, you can see Fast AI, you can see the bloke Tom Jobbins, you can see VLLM, which we have already covered on this channel, News Research, Uba Buga, which is a web UI platform, which also we have covered already on this channel, Technium, a very popular name in fine-tuning LLMs. All these people have got AI grants. There is no information around how much is the grant, like how much is actual cash and how much is compute. But you can see that this is a grant, and this is not an investment, not a safe note, which means these money are given to them, or the compute is given to them without any pressure for them to make any financial returns. I think I just loved this. I in fact went asked them like, do you guys support YouTube channels? For which nobody responded back. But that is me being selfishly asking for myself. But the point here is that it is a very heartwarming, quite an amazing news to see that folks like the bloke and folks running VLLM, and especially Jeremy, I'm a big fan. A lot of these people, they can make some money out of it for all the efforts that they have been putting here, making open source a much better place, making AI community much better place. I truly enjoyed it. So thanks to A16z. I never thought that I'm going to thank a VC in my life, but here I am. I'm thanking a VC for making the open source community a better place with all these things. So thank you. I hope you loved this coverage of AI news. I try to expand this time. Try to also have less opinions, but I'm not sure like if I was actually less opinionated. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I would love to see you again and again. See you another time. Happy prompting.